Okay guys, welcome back to another series on our 100 days of coding. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped. So let's go back to what we did the previous time here. This was the UI we are trying to recreate. We are trying to recreate this UI with HTML and CSS. Now you are going to notice that our fonts are different. I've tried looking to see if I can get the exact replica of the fonts, but I don't really know the name of the fonts that they used here. Please, if you know, you can just leave it in the comment section and I'll do well to check it as well. Yeah. So let's see what we did. On our previous tutorial we worked on our nav bar. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys how I added this image to it, this background image to it. So I'm going to explain this to you guys here. But we worked on our nav bar on our previous tutorial, and then we to start the hero section, but we realized that we've spent a lot of time working on the nav bar because I had to explain everything in details for to help those of you very new to HTML and CSS understand it here. So today we are going to be working on the hero section, and we're going to be trying to create the hero section. So let's go back to the design we've created before. This is design we didn't create it. This design we downloaded from Pinterest and we are trying to recreate here. So now, first thing first, let's go to our code. Let me show you guys how I added the background. So as you can see here, we have this, uh, um, we have our hero section, and then inside of our hero section we have our container. Now I'm going to create a new class because I'm going to be adding an overlay to it. So I'm going to be creating a new class here. Yeah, so that class now will enable us add the styles we need to add to it. So let's just cut this guy, and then let's just do div dot, let's say hero overlay. Hero dash overlay. So this has created our div for us, and then our content is our div. So now let's go to our CSS and style, and let me explain to you how I created the image. So basically the first thing I did was I gave it a width. I told it to take 100% of our width, which is this guy now, our section here. Just in case you don't know or you are asking about our nav bar, so this is our nav bar here. I closed the code so that it can make our code, so that it will make the code easy to read. Yeah, right now we are focusing on the hero section, so I just want our focus to be on the hero section. But this is our nav bar here. This was everything we did. This was our search icon we added. We didn't add any link functionality to it. It's just a search bar icon here. Now these are our nav elements. All these are our nav elements. They are not being linked to anywhere. They're just there. And then we have our logo, which we use the capital letter M for. Yeah. And then for today we are going to be working on our body section. We are going to see how we can design it and customize it, and hopefully we are going to try to go as far as possible on this. Yeah, not just the hero section, but we are going to try to do a lot of things as well. So let's go to the CSS now. So I'm basically telling the hero section, which is this guy here, to take 100% of the width and 80 viewports, which means 80% of your screen. Just take 80% of it here. You can use percentage, you can use viewport, but you will see most often than not viewport is being used in terms of heights. So I'm telling to use 80 viewport here, and then now I'm telling this guy here our background. Adding a background image from our CSS. So now with this background image, this guy is showing now. As you can see, we are calling the background image, we are giving it the URL, and we are passing a URL that shows exactly where the image is located. So we are telling it leave the current directory, which is the views directly. leave the views directory, go into the public directory. So now when you see these double dots, if I use one dot here, I'm telling it leave the current file, which is this HTML file. But now I'm telling it leave the HTML file, also leave the view directory. That's just the meaning of these two dots here. Leave the HTML file, which is the current file you are in, leave the current folder you are in, and go into public folder, which is this guy here. Go into public folder and look for images. So inside public folders, go into images and then select this image. So that's how we got it here. That's how we are linking it to it. So that's just basically it. I've used this same dot syntax in so many places, but I don't think I explained it. So this is another place I use it here. I'm telling it here as well. Leave the HTML file, leave the views directory, go into the public, and go into styles.css. That's just it. I'm trying to link our style with our HTML here as well. Okay, so now we have our background. Let me remove these guys so that I'll be showing you guys one by one. Let me just comment these guys out here. So now we have our image. Our image is here now. So now let's see what we have. As you can see, the image is repeating itself, but we don't want it to repeat itself here. We don't want our image to repeat itself because this does not make any sense. If we design a website like this, it just doesn't show we are professional or we know what we are even doing here. So now the solution to that, we came and we are telling it here, background repeats, no repeats. That is, please do not repeat it here. So let me uncomment everything and then comment these guys again. So we are telling it do not repeat our background. So now let's go and see our background. Now as you can see, our background is not repeated, it's just taking one, but it's taking the initial size of the image. That's a problem because all this space becomes very wide. Yeah, all this space becomes very wide, and this is not even good looking at all. If you design something like this, the person you are designing for will just look at you like, do you know what you are even doing? Yeah. So now that's where we are adding another CSS property to it. So let me uncomment everything again, and then let me comment these guys. The reason why I'm taking my time to go over these CSS properties so that you just don't see it there and you don't know exactly what they are doing. So now we are telling it the image size should be covered. So take the full width and height of the section, which is the hero section. Remember, we are giving it 100% of the screen width, 80 viewports of the screen height. Now we are telling the image to take 100% of the screen width and 80 viewports of the screen height. So let's go and see what we have. As you can see now, it's now looking a bit better because now it's taking 80% of the screen height and 100% of the screen width here. So this is looking a bit better, but there's more we can do to it. As you can see, our image is distorted. Like when you look at it, our image is just everywhere. So let's try to centralize it. Let's try to centralize our image here. So as before, let me uncomment these guys. Take the guy off. Let me uncomment these guys. Take this guy off as well. Tab to come back. Okay, so now we have our position to be center. So we want it to be center. Basically what happened before now was that the image was too big, so the CSS tried as much as it could to make the image fit into the current width and height that we have specified. But right now what we are telling it is, okay, centralize everything, let everything look a bit better. So I think this is better than before. Yeah, this is better than before. So now we are done with our image, but it's not looking good here. I'm going to leave this guy commented for now. It's not looking good because if you look at our design, it's dark. yeah, and we don't want to go and look for a dark image. So one thing we can use is an overlay. So that is why we added this other div here, the div we added here. That is why we added it, so that we can use overlays. So now we are going to be overlaying it with this guy here. So let's go to our CSS now. Let's dot control V, and then let's tell this guy the position should be absolute. What this is telling our website now is that this content here should be on top of every other content. It should work on its own here. So we can actually position it anywhere we want it to. So let's say to the top, let it be 0. Let's set the top to 0, and let's set the left as well to 0. So now let's look at, of course we are not going to see anything yet, so let's give it a width of 100%. So now we are telling it take a width of 100%, and then we are telling it the height should also be 100% here. So if we are giving it a width of 100% and a height of 100%, now let's give it a background color. So now let's say background color, let's give it a RGB value because it's an overlay, so we want it to be transparent. So let's give it an RGBA value. So RGBA, yeah, just type on it, and then let this be 0. Let this be 0 as well. Let this also be 0, and let this be 0.8. Now with this, let's see what we have. Remember, I enabled auto save, so that's why I'm not saving. Use Ctrl S to save. My auto save is on, that's why I'm not saving here. It makes it easier, you don't have to worry about saving. So now our overlay is working, but there's a problem. There's a problem with our design here. Our overlay is working fine, all good, but there's a problem with our design. So now what's the problem with our design? It's taking the whole screen. You can see our navbar. Our overlay is on top of our navbar. Like I told you, absolute makes your contents act separately. It pops it up. Initially, what HTML does is it arranges your code stack by stacks. So everything works one after the other. Whatever is here comes first before whatever is here. But right now, what we are telling it by this absolute is that make it, just push this guy on top, push this guy on top. But now the problem is that we are not specifying where we want it to be on. Yeah, we are not specifying where we want it to be on. So that brings us to this last position here. So by the time we uncomment this position relative, you are going to see the change. So now let's go back to our desktop. As you can see, everything is now fitting well. So let me try to explain the position relative to you guys. Position relative is basically telling the browser that everything should be relative to the hero section. Remember, let's come here. This is our hero section, this is our hero overlay. Our hero overlay is a child, is a direct child to our hero section. So what we are telling it now is this: everything here should be relative to our hero here. Yeah, everything inside our overlay, all the styles we are giving our overlay should be relative to our hero. Yeah, so basically all the is telling it, since here we are telling it take 100% of the width, 100% of the height. Remember, our hero has the width, is taking 100% of the desktop width, and is taking 80 viewports of the desktop height, of your browser height. Yeah, so now we are telling it, okay, take everything here, just take everything, don't give any space, let it be relative to our hero section. Let everything here be relative to our hero section. That's just basically what we are telling it. So now another thing we can do as well. Okay, I think for now we are good with our overlay. So now let's try to style our image here. Let's try to style the images and see what we get. Yeah. So let's come to hero content, which is this guy. What am I doing here? Okay, so I don't think we need any. Okay, let's just give it a Z-Ivin index. Control V. Let's give it a Z index. A Z index of, let's just say 10, and then so that it helps us push it to the top of your browser here. It brings it on top of everything. And then now let's style our text itself. So let's come here, our header text. So let's give it a color of white. The color of white. So let's see what we have here. So as you can see now, our text is white. So now we can start styling our text here. But before we start styling our text, let's go back to our design and let's see what we have here. So everything is centered. What will I call it now? Horizontally. Everything is centered vertically here. So let's try to centralize everything vertically. Let's center this guy vertically so that everything will be inside. So we can see a display of flex. Then let's justify contents. Justify contents should be let's say left. Let's justify the content to left. Then let's align our items to the center. So now let's see what we have here. Didn't work. That's because we did not specify a width for this guy. So let's give it give it a width of, let's just say 200 pixels. Let's see what we have. So if you have 200 pixels, it's not working. Why is that so? Okay, let's go back to our HTML again and see. We are inside our container. In our container we have our hero section. Okay, we are basically placing our styles in the wrong place here. So our styles should not be inside our hero contents. Those are our display flex and all that. It should rather be inside our hero overlay instead. So let's just cut it out of this place. So display flex and all that should cut it out. And then let's go to our display overlay and let's paste it there so that it will affect this guy. Yeah. So now let's take our widths that we specified and then let's see what we have here. Okay, so now it's working as you can see. So it was, we made the mistake here. I made the mistake, sorry, I made the mistake here. I wanted to add the style. I added the style. Wow, English. I added the style directly inside our hero content instead of me adding the style inside our hero overlay. So now our hero overlay is a parent div, is like the grandparents of this guy. So whatever we put in here will still affect this guy here. Yes, whatever we put inside will still affect this guy. So that's just it. Now we are good with that. Everything is centered. Okay. So let's come to our text. Let's see our design again. So we have very big text here. So let's increase our font size. Let's say font width of, let's give it to be very bold. Let's say 800. Then let's say font size to be let's say extra large. You can use numbers also, you can use pixels. Yeah, let's see, is it working? It's not really that big, so let's use pixels for it. Let's say our font size should be let's just say 50 pixels. Let's see what it gives us. Okay, I think this is good. This is actually good. Yeah, so now this is good here. So let's just come inside here. So you are going to see the effect of the alignment we did here, the horizontal alignment we did. So everything we do, we don't have to start specifying different styles. We don't have to start using margin and padding and all that. So it saves us time. It makes our life very easy. It makes our life very, very easy. Yeah? So now let's go to our style. Let's see what the root there, our UI rather. Let's see what the root there. Wow, I don't think I can read this. Okay, let's just go and get a lorem text. Yeah, let's just use lorem ipsum. So let's just get a lorem text and then let's just paste it inside and see the effects trying to extend here. So let's just get this guy like this. Ctrl C. Let's just Ctrl V. So let's paste it. So this guy, let's just highlight it and let me explain let's use strong. So strong is used when you want to emphasize a particular word here. So strong can be used for that. So now let's go to our browser and let's see what we have here. So as you can see, our text is right here. Our text is right here, but it's black, so we can also style our text. P-tag, let's call it, let's give it a class of description. Let's just call it text or this text. This text. So let's just come here and let's add some styles to it. So Ctrl C. Let's paste descriptive text inside of our CSS. So let's give it a width so that it doesn't span all through the screen here. Let's give it a width of 200 pixels. Let's give it a color of let's say gray, but let's make it a bit brighter. Let's make the gray a bit bright so that it's readable. Yeah. So let's see what we have here. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So 200 pixel is too small. Let's increase it to maybe 400. So times 2 of what we have here. And then okay, this is looking good now, right? This is better now. So let's give it a padding top so that it has some space. Yeah, a margin top rather. So a margin top of, let's say 10 pixels would do. So now we have a margin top of 10 pixels. So let's go back to our initial design. Sorry, our UI. My noise mixing up. So we have something similar to what they have here, but although not exactly what they have because we don't have the exact fonts they have here, but we have something similar to what they have here right now. So with this, I think we are done with our hero section. We can just add a bit more text if we want. Just add a bit more text to just make it a bit bulky. Yeah, let's take this guy and let's go and paste it inside. So just go here and paste it here. So now let's see it. Okay, so we have the text here. As you can see, we gave it the text a width, so no matter the amount of text we pass, it will not pass this place. It will always end here and go to the next line. Yeah, so this is basically our landing page now. I think this is looking good. I don't know about you, but I think this is actually looking nice. So let's see how much time we have left and let's see what we can do. So our hero section is good, and then remember we created on our first tutorial something called container. You can see how well aligned this thing is. It's making our design look very clean. So it's like you are using a straight ruler to measure everything just because we created a class called container. So with this now, so all these things are very key. Like just this class now is what is responsible for those spaces we have at the edges of our designs. Yeah, as you can see, we've not really done much, but the style is already very long. So imagine if you are doing this inside your HTML tag, it will be very bulky and reading your code yourself will be really difficult. So now let's move to our next section. Yeah, let's just move to our next section. So this is our featured section. Let's see what our UI have for us. We are done with you. So okay, so this is what we'll be building now. Okay, I think this will be pretty easy. It's just a text, a title, and so let's start building it here. So our first section, first things first, let's open our code and then let's call it div. Let's give it the name of container. Now we are not giving it a background image because it's white, and by default your browser is white, so there's no point giving a background image here. So let's use a h1 tag, not a h2, a h1 tag. So if you are looking for this plugin that helps me suggest code, this is it. It's called Blackbox. It pops up code for you. It helps you give you suggestion code. So you are writing something and sometimes you might just be thinking of something and it just brings a suggestion. So it makes you a better and faster developer. Yeah. So let's see what they have here. What did they write on the UI? We build experience. So let's just go back and so let's give this guy review the experience. Okay, I forgot to add a E. So this now, let's start adding our styles. Yeah. So first thing first, let's look at the UI again and let's see how we can style it. So similar to what we did the other time, I think there are styles here that we need to look at and make our life easy by just using our flexbox and defining everything inside our flexbox. That's what I'm thinking of here, because if you look at the space here and the space here, they are very much similar. So I don't want us to be using margin and padding and be padding everything here. If we can use our flexbox, we can easily just centralize all these things, and it's even easy to make it responsive if we are using our margin and padding, because when you are designing for mobile first. So that's one thing you need to always consider here, your margin and padding, the space around it. So now we've already solved this space here, we solved this space here. So now I'm also looking at the easiest way we can solve this space here as well. Yep. So what can we do? Can we create a class and then just call the class let's call the class spacing, and then just call the class and then give it a defined margin and padding, so that we don't have to be creating margin and padding, so that we have the same uniform margin and padding. It makes our works look clean and professional. Yeah. So I think that's what we are going to do. So we're just going to go to our CSS and call it spacing. So close to our container, let's call it spacing. So that's spacing. Let's give it a margin, top and bottom of 60 pixels, and then left and right of 0 pixels. So let's just copy our code, Ctrl C, and then let's come here. So inside our container, we are just adding our spacing to it. Remember to add multiple CSS in the class, multiple classes just need space. So now let's go back to our browser and let's see if it works. So yes, it works, but there's a problem. It overrides the okay, another thing we can do now is this. We can just come here, take it out of here, create a new div. Okay, so now this is overriding it, because here we specified that the margin listen, left and right should be 0, which should not be here. So now instead of this, we are just going to use margin top of 60 pixels and margin bottom of 60 pixels, so that it does not override the other one we have. So we have margin bottom as well of 60 pixels. So now you are actually seeing me solving different problems that arise and figuring out different ways to go about it. So now we have it here, we have that space. So now just mere using this class, we solved our problem. We don't have to be repeating it, giving different margin and paddings. Now we have a uniform margin and padding we can use everywhere. Yeah. So let's go back to our UI and let's see what we have. Okay, so we have a tag here. So now let's come inside here. First of all, let's wrap div inside. Let's give this a div on its own. Let's call it section header. So sec header. Please don't mind my naming convention. Please use a better naming convention. Yeah, it makes your life easier, and it helps your page to rank higher on SEOs. Yeah. It's really important to use a good naming convention. So let's just go back to our browser and use Lorem Ipsum from here. Let's just copy this guy here and paste it there. So let's just paste it inside here, and then let's give it a class name as well, a class of section subtext. Section subtext here. So that's just it now. So let's style this guy here. So before we go about that, let's style this guy. Or over here, let's create a horizontal tag. Yeah. And then this guy now, let's give it a, or there's no need to give it a class. So let's just come here and let's style it. Let's give it let's give it a class. There's something I'm thinking of, so let's give it a class of spacing. Yeah. Why? Because we want it to have space on the both on the margin and the padding. So now let's look at what we have here. Let's look here, scroll down. So we have our horizontal tag here, and it's very long here. So now let's reduce it. Let's go back to our UI so that you see where the style is coming from. As you can see, there's a very small line here, so we are just going to reduce the width of the line, but we've got that same space that we need. Yeah, we've gotten the space both on the top and bottom of it, so it just makes our life easy. We can reuse it. Yeah, we can reuse it, and then when you are writing a very big project, yeah, you just need to design once and then you reuse it. When we get into frameworks like React, we start creating reusable components here, whereby you can make a design and use it in multiple places. But for now, I'm trying to make our design reusable as possible so that we don't have to type everything word to word. So we have it already here. Now we can just come here, and then let's reduce our HR first. So since it's a syntax, we can just say HR and then give it a width of, let's say, 20 pixels, and then let's see how well that does. So as you can see, is here already is 20 pixels, but it's too small. Let's make it 40. Let's make our pixels 40, so it's a bit big. So okay, now this is better. Yeah, we have the style we need, and then we have the width that we require to perform what we need to perform. So now let's style our section head. Yeah. So to style our section head now. To style our section head, let's just copy the class for it. So our H1 here, section title, let's just copy it. And then Ctrl C, let's go to our CSS, and now let's start styling it. Ctrl V. So now we want the same font size as this guy here, so let's put it, but we don't want the same font width, so let's give a different font width. Let's say 600, so that it will not be too bold. So let's see what we have now. We build experience, that's better. Yeah, that's way more better. So we have this guy up here, and then let's just add some text, some Lorem text to spicing the whole thing up. So these are dummy text. You can use it as placeholder text when you are building a platform. Probably you just want to show the user what it would look like. You can use it as a dummy text while your development is still on production. Yeah. So we have this guy now. As you can see, our design is coming up very well. So this is looking very beautiful. Yeah, it's looking very beautiful. Our design is coming up as usual. So now let's come here. Let's try and be fast. So let's create a new div. Dots contents features container. Let's call it features container. So now we have this new div here, and then inside the div we are going to have 3 divs. So feature item, we're going to have 3 of them. So the divs are going to take the same style. Ctrl Z, let's Ctrl Z, and V. So now these divs are going to take the same style. Basically it's just going to be a title, which is a h1. So let's just input the content h1. Let's just call it title 1. Sorry, we're supposed to wrap that inside of the h1 tag, h1. Then let's call it title 1, and then let's give it a p tag as well. And then let's just copy this guy from here, or let's open this section and copy it. No, this is our nav. Let's open this other section here. Let's give a space so that we can separate it. Now you can also comment. You can also use comments if you want to use comments. I showed you guys how you can use comments. You can also use comments as well, but I'm just trying to be as fast as possible because it's gone really far. So let's call this one class of title. Let's call it feature title. So let's call this feature text. So now let's just delete this guy and duplicate this one instead. So let's just remove our let's change this one to 2. Let's change this one to 3. So now let's start styling it. First thing first, let's go to our feature container. Let's get our feature container first. Ctrl C. And then let's come to our CSS. Now let's paste it. Then let's give it a display of flex. Let's give it a justify items of space between. We want space to be between them. Justify content of space between them. Let's give it an align item of center. Yeah, with this I think we are good with the section. So now let's see what we have here. So now you can see we have different sections and they are all exactly the way we want them to be, but the style is still not there yet. So let's work on the styling for them. So first thing we want to add now is to get this guy first. Let's take our spacing. Let's add our spacing. Don't want margin, we want padding here. So let's look at our design. Let's see if we can create a padding system that works all through our design. I don't think we need padding system that work all through our design here, so we can just specify different paddings for them. So now let's come here, inside our feature item, let's come to our CSS, come to your next line. I've not been consistent with my spacing, but let's give it a width here, that's right, of is 300 good enough? Let's see what 300 gives us. Nice. I think this is beautiful. 300 is good enough. So you can see suggestions make sense as well. Yeah. Let's give it a box shadow. What do we need to know? To be honest, I've forgotten how to create a box shadow. Let me go and look for it. So let me just copy and paste it. Yeah. So let's give it this box shadow. So then let's give it a padding. And then let's say top and bottom, the padding should be 15 pixels. Or let's just make it 20 pixels instead. And then left and right, it should be 15 pixels. Is that no? Let's just say 10 pixels. I think that will be good enough. And then let's give it a border radius. The border radius of let's just say 15 pixels. So let's see what we have right now. Okay, this is looking nice. It's looking really nice. So now let's start styling our individual items. So one thing we did not add is a button. So let's go and add a button. So our HTML here. So let's say button. And then let's just give it any random text. So let's see the text they used here. What do they use? Learn more. So let's just use it. Learn more. So let's give it a class as well of BTN. So we have a class of BTN here. So now we have a class of BTN, and then we have the learn more and all the stuff. So let's start styling them individually. Let's come to our title first. Let's give it a margin bottom. Margin bottom of 7 pixels. Let's give it a font size. Let's give it a font size of 20 pixels. Let's give it a font width of So let's see what we have here. Too tiny. 400 is too tiny. Let's make it 600. Let's see. Nice. Okay, so we have nice padding between them. Our button is still here, so we are going to style our button very soon, but let's style our text first. Our p tag, which is feature text. So we already passed our time, so let's just give this guy a margin bottom as well. Margin at the bottom of 8 pixels for this guy. 8 pixels. Let's give it a font size of 15 pixels. I think that's all for you. Let's see what we have. Okay, it's small and it's better. Yeah. So let's reduce our background a little bit. Let's make this guy 3. The opacity, let's make it 3. I think this is better. So let's style our button now. I think our button is so let's give it a width of let's say 30% of the current screen size, and then let's give it a background color of black. Let's give it a border radius of 15 pixels. Let's give it a outline of none. We don't want any outline. And then let's give it a text color to be white. And then now let's add a pseudo class to it. So once they hover on it, you can see just suggestion again for us here. It makes our life easier. So now we can see once it's hover on, we want our background color not to be this guy though, but we want it to be white. So sometimes the suggestion might not be what you want. You can always change it. We want a border of 1 pixel solid, and it should be black. Here we don't want a border, so our border should be none. Here we want a border, the border should be white, and then we want a border radius. The border radius should be 15 pixels as well. And then here we want the radius here. So, and then color, our text color should be black here. So let's see what we have already. Now we can see it changes color, but there's a problem, and the problem is that we did not specify a padding. So we don't like the way the button is like that. So up and down should be 4 pixels, while this is left and right should be 8 pixels. Like I said before, I like doubling this size, whatever size I use for so you can see we only added it for the hover. So once it's hovered on, so let's put it on our initial state. So here we are telling it this should be it. Let's make this guy 12 so that it makes more sense. So we have this guy. So now it's looking better, but remember our width of 30% that we gave to it is not, let's increase it to, let's say 50%, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so now it's looking better. Now let's reduce our border radius to 7%. 7 pixels, sorry. 7 pixels. So that our button stands out. Okay, this is looking cleaner and it is better. Yeah. So this is looking way cleaner and it is better for us. Yeah. So I think we are good with this guy. We finished this section of our design. Let's see how long this video has been for. Okay, we've already hit 15 minutes. Yeah, we've passed 15 minutes, so we are going to be ending the video. That is not too bulky and it's something you can easily go through and finish. Yeah, thank you guys. We are going to continue with the remaining sections. Feel free to try it out. Try out the remaining sections. So we are looking to complete it. There are just 2 sections remaining actually. So I noticed something now. The initial design, there's no hover. You can't hover on the background here on the initial design. So let's do something here. So let's add a pseudo class to it. Yeah, so that when you hover on it, the background shows, because there's no background on the initial design. So let's just add that as an additional feature from us. So this basically helps you. So let's take this guy out from here. And then let's add it, so when you hover on it, and then we can add text to it to also make it look better. So now when you hover on it, the background appears. Yeah, now makes more sense. Let's add some text. I think this is better. I'm just adding them anywhere though. Okay, so let's look at our design and then let's see what we have. Okay, I think this is better now, although the design still needs a bit of tweaking, but we are out of time already. Okay, we've created a landing page already, and I showed you guys how to add a background image, how to create an overlay for that image, how to create a mobile navigation menu, and then I showed you guys how to create a button and all that stuff. So pretty much with this you can build any landing page you want to. Yeah, very soon we are going to get into interactivity, so we are going to make our sites interactive, so when a user clicks a button, a particular thing will happen, so we can help the user navigate our site. Yeah, but for now we've spent way more time on this. Thank you everyone for your time. See you guys on our day 7. Sorry, on our day 8. Okay, peace out.